Hi, everyone. This is Kubik and John Wood, and we're here with the second in a new series of dinosaur training videos. These are actual workout videos. John did one to get us started. You probably have seen that. If not, go check it out right now. It's about a really good way to use a very unique wrist roller training method for some super fast gains in strength and muscle size in the forearms and grip. And if you want something that's going to pump up your forearms like nothing else, like nobody's business, check out what John does in our first workout video. Now, the second workout video is one that I did. This is a workout at the beach at Fort Worden State Park, which is about, about 2.5 miles away from where we live here in Port Townsend, Washington. This is the beach, the state park where they filmed the movie An Officer and a Gentleman. And I like to go up there and actually do some of my workouts sometimes in exactly the same spots where they had scenes from the movie, where Louis Gossett Jones was torturing Richard Gere with push-ups and leg raises and similar exercises. And I think it's kind of funny to do a hard workout in the middle of what was a scene of a hard workout in a famous Hollywood movie. So you can tell that I'm hoping to get into the movies someday. In any event, talking about movies, this is a video that we did out on the beach. It's completely raw footage. Trudy shot it while I was doing the workout. And the interesting thing about it is I went out there with the general idea of trying to do something like this, but exactly what I was going to do was dependent on what equipment we found. They've got a lot of logs out there on the beach. The logs wash ashore, and they come in all shapes and sizes. You can do different things with different logs. And so your workout varies depending on what log you find and what it's going to work for. So with that background, John, shall we get going?
Yep, let's go ahead. 3, 2, 1, play.
So today we're going to have a little beach workout. This is going to be long, and it varies depending on what's available. Today, at the particular spot that we're at, this is available. So let's go. And there we are at the beach.
This is just an awesome location to get in a workout. I mean, with the sky, the ocean in the background, the sand. I mean, that's just superb.
It's really a lot of fun, and actually sometimes when I'm working out, if I'm facing the water, I see seals or even sea lions, otters in the background swimming around, and sometimes they pop up and watch. They find it intriguing. So we're starting out. I found a log that seemed to be about the right size to do something. I wasn't sure what. And just picked it up and said, this probably feels like 5 reps. So I did one set of 5 reps and put it down. Took a short break, which we didn't film, and then got it into position for the next one. You can see that the hard part is finding the balance with the log. It's awkward. And you have to hold it in a grip like that, a bodybuilder front squat grip or a Zerker grip. Can't get your hands under it as you could with a bar, of course. And that's set number 2. Set 3 coming.
Notice you're training barefoot in the sand.
Yeah, it works a lot better. You may notice too that I have to kind of like dig with my toes a little bit sometimes. These are fairly rocky beaches, and one thing you don't want to do is stand on something sharp when you're doing weighted squats. So that's 3 sets.
Mm-hmm.
And now 4. Change the angle a little bit and get a different perspective on that log, which was pretty big and awkward. And I know people are going to say, how much did it weigh? I've got no idea. All I know is that this was a 5-rep log. There are other logs out there that I've used that are 10-rep logs. You know, it just varies depending on what you pick up, which is actually a kind of a cool workout.
Mhm.
One thing you'll notice is there's some kind of like protrusions on the log, little bumps and knobs, a spiky point once or twice. And I'm very carefully adjusting so that I'm not pushing one of those into my chest or throat during the set. And the interesting thing about this kind of workout is that it starts out relatively easy. I mean, the first set is easy, second set's pretty easy, third set. And, you know, it starts to get harder from set to set. And that's when the fun starts, because what you're trying to do as you go from one set to another and you start to gradually get tired, you try to make every set look like the first one. So that's the goal, is to try to make it look easy as we move forward, even though it's getting harder, which is just a mental thing. You know, you need to just concentrate on it, get your mind focused. And that's one where I got a sharp part on my arm. It was like, okay, I want to adjust this. You can kind of see me moving around. People walking by in the background, they don't even give it a second look. So
Yeah, earlier there was a guy walking by and he had a long sleeves and you know there's Brooks just working out like it's nobody's, like it's just no big deal. You ever get
well,
any?
I'm out there a lot. I'm acclimated. Now this is interesting. This is my way of keeping score from set to set. We're up to number 7 now, set number 7. And I just throw a piece of wood down. If I don't have wood, I use rocks. But you have to do something like that if you're doing high rep sets or a high number of sets, because you lose track. I certainly did. Now here's a problem. After the previous set, set number 7, I dropped the log and it broke. So instead of a long log, I now have one relatively short log. I say it's short, but it's comes up to my chest, and a long one. And now I'm going to have to see if it's possible to do something with both of them, and if not, find another log. So now I'm struggling to get these two guys into position and just trying to figure this out as I go along. They're a little too thick to palm or to hold with one hand. So I'm trying to figure out some way, as you can see, to do sort of a two-hand anyhow. Just making this up as I go along, and that's part of the fun of this kind of workout. So now we're going to see if we can get it up. And we can, maybe. Just. Ha, there we are. And this is interesting. It, you know, obviously changes the balance and the leverage, having 2 logs in your hands instead of 1. And this is perhaps not highly recommended because you don't want to be rounding forward, but I'd started and I wanted to finish 10 sets. So spoiler alert, that's what I'm going for, 10 sets. This would be set number 9. So now I'm trying a different method. We're going to try to get that big log up on my shoulder. I'm kind of thinking Arthur Saxon two-hand anyhow with this. Ouch, you can see that really tweaked my shoulder, not good. Trying to balance it, hard to do. And here I make a very bad mistake. I put the little log on the big one and the big one goes down and I'm like, okay, we're done. We're just gonna try again. So this is the second try at set number 9. And now I've decided to use a little bit different technique. We're going to try sort of a zerker. This turned out to be a much better idea. Again, the 2 logs are not recommended, but hey, you do what you have to do. And there we go. And the balance on this actually felt really good. The one log, the short one, balanced on top of the bigger one. It seems like it would be very hard, but it was actually easier than the one before. And now we're up to set number 10. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know how to do it now. I've got this figured out. There we go. And this is kind of interesting because it's sort of like the big logs on top of the, almost on top of the little one.
We now have 2 dumbbells and a barbell. Luckily, however, I was just going to do
drop.
10 sets.
And now we have another problem. Because now I've got 1 barbell and 2 dumbbells. And luckily, I'd already done the 10 sets I was going to do, which I'm pointing out in the video and proving with my calculator. And so I'm done. And if anyone else wants to come by and use the logs, they're welcome to it. Welcome to them. So that was the end of the workout. 10 sets, 5 reps a set, total of 50 reps. It's essentially the equivalent of doing goblet squats. You know, a goblet squat is much different than a barbell back squat or even a barbell front squat, but it's very effective. You know, the barbell back squat's a great exercise, but it's not the only way to train your legs. Barbell front squats are great, but again, they're not the only way to train your legs. There's lots of different ways to do it. And if you get creative, think outside the box, you can find all sorts of interesting ways to get your leg training in. So that was one of the things I wanted to show on the video was, you know, just how to do it with different types of equipment. You know, just essentially anything that was available, anything that you found, and kind of get people thinking in terms of being creative. You can do a workout like that with sandbags very easily. It's perfect for sandbag training. If you have a lifting log, you can figure out a way to do it with lifting logs. You know, lots and lots of different things. So that was one of the reasons to do it. The other thing I wanted to show people was that for someone my age, I'm 64 going on 65 in September, you can get a good, hard, effective strength and muscle mass stimulating workout without going to absolute muscular failure on every set, without grinding yourself into the ground, without making it so hard that you're not going to be able to recover from it. And that's what I focus on in my workouts, is stimulating muscle growth without doing things that are just so over the top, so crazy hard that you won't be able to recover from them. And that becomes more of a balancing act as you get older. You know, you have to constantly assess and reassess how hard you're training, how well you're recovering, and what you need to do going forward. So it's a challenge, but it's also it's interesting and it's fun.
And a lot of people, as they get older, they just simply stop training legs. And there might be a variety of reasons for that, one of which is you touched on, is that in their head, leg day means going all out and doing something totally crazy and insane and being wiped out afterwards. And it doesn't have to be that way. As long as you're, I mean, it's probably more important to do something, anything, as you get older, rather than having to go all the way to the red line on a regular basis. As long as you're consistent and you do something, then that's going to help you keep or build muscle mass and maintain all the important things that come along with proper training.
That's absolutely true, and it's a very important point for the older guys and older gals out there. One reason why it's important is that we grew up reading about 20 rep breathing squats and killing yourself when you did them, and doing squats to failure, doing all your leg exercises to momentary muscular failure. And we were of a mindset that you really just had to, go to the white buffalo on every set you did when you trained legs, or it didn't count. And regardless of the merits of that for someone younger, and there are plenty of people who've gotten great results doing that when they were younger. When you're older, it's just hard or downright impossible to train that hard, or to train that hard and recover, or to train that hard and do it safely. The last thing you want is a hard balls to the wall workout where you hurt yourself. That's going to set you back faster than anything, obviously. So you have to figure out how to train with, what I would think of as controlled intensity, something that is hard and challenging, but very possible. And I do things like 10 sets or sometimes more of 5 reps with something that's heavy enough to make 5 reps challenging, 10 reps with something that's heavy enough or light enough to make 10 reps challenging. If I do body weight exercises, I do more reps. And again, I find I do stuff that's challenging, but I do stuff that is well within my ability to recover from, things that I can do 2 or even 3 times a week in different workouts and come back and get stronger from workout to workout, which of course is one of the signs that you're actually recovering from your workouts. Can't do it with that particular log anymore because there's now 3 logs instead of 1 log, but same principle applies.
It looks like you'll have plenty of options regardless. Whenever you go, there'll be other things you can use.
I've got a whole gym out there with essentially different fixed weight barbells and dumbbells and kettlebells, if you count the rocks. And I could literally do 100 sets and use something different on every single set. I don't want to do that, and if people write in and say, hey, we want to see you do it, the answer is no. But it is something that I could do.
Set number 9.
I love the fact that you're using your environment as your gym. I think a lot of people, to me, they make excuses about, oh, the gym's closed, or I don't have a barbell, or I don't have this or have that. I mean, part of the idea in this whole thing is to figure something out that works for you with what you got available, and you've got fantastic setup. I think there's also something to be said for training outside in the fresh air and the sunlight. There's many reasons for that. One of the things that maybe you didn't know, or I don't know if this is something scientific or not, but I remember reading in an old issue of Muscular Development, there was an article on recovery. I think it was by Bob Hoffman. But one of the things that he mentions in the context of this article is that being around water, being in a environment where there's water, in his opinion, was something that would enhance recovery. So being around waterfalls or the ocean where there's mist in the air. I have no idea if there's anything to that, but that's the environment that you're in when you're doing this workout. So I think that all the other factors combined, it's clearly working. I mean, you can see that your physical condition is well ahead of most people that are in your age range.
I don't remember that article by Hoffman, but it's absolutely true what he was alluding to. The fresh air, I think there are a lot of ions in salt water. And where we live, where I train, is actually on a point, so it's surrounded by water on 2 sides. We live on a peninsula that juts out in the water and is surrounded by water on 3 sides.
and a barbell.
But where I'm at, where I'm training, I've got water in 2 directions.
I was just going to do
Salt air, fresh salt air, sea breezes coming from 2 different directions, and sometimes they'll shift during the workouts. You've got the sunshine, as you can see.
Hope you enjoyed it.
It's very different from anything I've experienced in my life before. It's completely different than training inside, particularly if you're talking about training in a basement, training in a garage, training in an old dungeon-style gym, which are the only gyms I've ever trained in. There really was no sunshine, and I wasn't used to training in the sunshine. And then during my working life, I always trained in the evening when it was dark. So, I mean, I never had the experience of training outside in the sunshine. And it's just absolutely amazing. It's one reason why I do these workouts. People say, well, why don't you stay home and do barbell and dumbbell work in your garage? And part of the answer is because it's so beautiful here and it feels so good to get outside and do things outside. So I try to figure out ways to do things outside.
Set number 2.
I may end up bringing barbells or dumbbells to the beach sometime, but it's easier to just use the equipment that's there. And, fun and challenging. It makes every workout, even though I follow similar patterns in the workouts, it makes every workout unique and challenging. So hard not to do it. Hard not to do it.
And plus, you said it's a couple miles to the beach. So, I mean, you're walking, roughly a half hour each way. I mean, that's
Number 3.
that's in addition to the workout. So, I mean, you're getting some other benefits from that.
Well, sometimes we drive over to the beach,
Mhm.
and other times we walk. But if we walk, it's about a 5 to 6 mile walk, depending on which of the beaches we go to, whether the northern beach or the eastern beach. But if you put in 2.5 miles there, a leg workout, for example, and then 2.5 miles back, that's a heck of a workout. And when you're done with that, your whole body has said, okay, I'm done. We're over for the day. Particularly with all the hills here. I've talked before about how hilly it is here. Very steep hills. And so walking there and back, you're going uphill about 2 miles of the entire walk, one way or another. It's challenging. And of course, there's also the lift something on your shoulder and walk with it when you're at the beach aspect to the whole thing. So you can end up just doing some wild stuff here.
And part of this is something, this type of training is something that you would probably do. I mean, if there's a storm or something, I mean, you'll have to move something in that way during the course of your normal life at some point.
Mhm.
And so being able to do that, finding the balance point, adjusting to the terrain, things of that nature. I mean, it's true functional training for what you're doing there.
It really is. And it's a good thing to be able to do. To move and shift, logs, large pieces of wood, rocks, whatever. It is a good thing to do. The other nice thing about it is we don't always have good weather. Sometimes we have bad weather. And it can be very challenging mentally and physically to go out and work out in the rain or work out in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
The beach is always there, and the logs and rocks and the sand is always there. I can bring a sandbag and just fill it up, or bring a duffel bag and fill it up, and there's my sandbag workout. But you can do it literally all year round, and that's what I do. Many of you may be familiar with Steve Maxwell, the famous strength coach, BJJ coach, and Steve lives here in Port Townsend. He's about 3 to 5 miles away from where we live, and his workouts every day, all year round, he goes for essentially a 5 mile walk And he ends up in various places where he does pull-ups and push-ups and other exercises. He finds some of the big stairs that we have here and goes up and down the stairs. He goes up and down hills. He just, does whatever. You've seen his videos. They're pretty interesting. But it's essentially the same thing. And he makes a point about doing it every day in every kind of weather because there's different physical effects, and it's just different and good, to challenge yourself by saying, okay, I'm going to go outside and train, even though it's January and it's wet and cold and gray and gloomy and it's not as much fun as the summertime, but I'm going to go out and do it. That's a very interesting thing.
There's definitely something to be said for training when you don't feel like it, and training in bad weather and all that type of thing. It just makes you tougher. It reinforces the certain attitudes and behaviors in your own mind. And this is for no one else but you. You have to make that decision. And I think that that's part of the process, and that's something that you should realize is that if you only, and maybe this is true for other people, but it's like when you become an adult, if you only trained when you felt like it, you probably would never train at all, because there's never a good time. There's never enough time to do it, free time to do it. There's never, you're always hungry. You're always low on sleep. You're always tired, whatever the case is. So sorry, that's just how it goes. And your choice is do it or don't do it. But that's always right in front of you. And you see a lot of people that clearly they said that, they're on the tomorrow program. Well, I'll do it tomorrow. And that might stretch into years, decades. And there's issues that come along with that. So if you can figure out how to just do it, just will yourself to do it, then you're going to benefit tremendously.
There's a very long history of top-level bodybuilding champions who trained hellaciously early in the morning because they owned gyms or they worked at gyms, which was great, but they couldn't train when they were filled with people. So they had to do their training early in the morning. Or they wanted to do their training early in the morning because it was the only time to get in the gym and really have a workout where they could focus without having a lot of people asking them questions, interrupting, gawking at them, the whole 9 yards. So, a lot of bodybuilders from basically the 50s on, when there started to be a lot of gyms, they did their training very early. Bill Pearl was always famous for that. Reg Park did that. It went on into the 60s, 70s, 80s, the so-called golden era. A lot of people were training early in the morning. We've got, long-time Dinosaurs, people who are, regular readers of the Dinosaur files and have been following me for 25 or 30 years. They include people who train with Bill Pearl, Reg Park, other top bodybuilding stars early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, because it was the only time to do it. But the interesting thing about that is that presupposes that you've got that mental attitude of, I'm going to train. I don't care if it's 4 in the morning and I'm tired and it's not the optimal time to get up and train, and I'd rather have breakfast, and my body says it works better at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whatever. It's like the only time I have is 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to make the most of it. And they do. And that's true probably pretty much universally for all elite athletes. They may not be able to train at the best time or the optimal time or when they want to train, but guess what? They train anyway. They get it done. And that's an important message for everyone. So, do you have any questions about this particular workout or the whole log lifting thing?
I don't, but if anyone does, they can certainly post them in the comments on this video, and I'm sure, or send them to you directly, and I'm sure you have a means of addressing those. To me, it's pretty straightforward. And you know, I think it's just a matter of now that you know what to do, you just keep doing it, which clearly you do. But other than that, I think that this is a perfect opportunity to be a fly on the wall and say, okay, well, how does Brooks Kubik train? And there it is. It's right there. And this series is kind of meant for that, where if nothing else, you get to learn by observing. Some people will go out and do something like this, and some people they enjoy it, but they may not do it themselves. But that's okay too. They still gain from observation, and I think that's the value to why we're doing this series.
I would agree with that. And, you know, again, one of the things is you don't have to do exactly what I do, and you probably don't, and you probably shouldn't. But do something that resonates with you, something that you find challenging, something that really gets you revved up for some serious, regular, consistent, hard, progressive training, and then go out and do it. You know, that's the takeaway for everyone. Find what you want to do, find what you need to do, and do it, and have fun with it. And that goes for everyone at every age. I don't care if you're a youngster or an oldster. We've got regular trainees training Dino style in their 80s. Their 80s, and they're pushing hard, doing the right things, and they're going to be doing it in their 90s. That's just great. There's no, you're never too old. If anyone ever tells you, just let it go in one ear and out the other, as they say, and just walk away, because you're listening to someone who really doesn't have very much to say to you. You're never too old to train. And remember, the more training you do, the better training, the more regular the training, the younger your body becomes. So all this nonsense about you're too old for this or you're too old for that is just poppycock.
Excellent. So I think it's time to wrap this one up, but we will certainly continue this series with some other workout footage that we'll comment on. If you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you are notified whenever new material is posted. But otherwise, I think we'll close the door on this edition. But otherwise, Brooks, anything else to add?
Nothing other than we love the comments, and we will respond to every one of them. Just, you know, if you have a comment, post it. If you have a question, post it. The more the merrier. And this is social media, so share the heck out of this video. Help us spread the word. Thanks a lot.